Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I can't wait to tell people why I know you. Because you're actually the hero and villain in my story.
Yes, I know that. We'll talk about it, but
Yeah.
I know how many times have I said I owe you an apology.
Yeah, you were the hero and villain in my story. But let me intro this, man. Welcome to Vino. Tag last year was a cool guy like me having conversation with cool people. This year, oh yeah, it's the new year, that's right. This year it's wine is the vehicle to conversation, and it's the only time you can drink and drive.
Yes.
That is the tagline for this season, man. I'm Vino, Brandon Braxton, and I'm here with
Jill Fuller.
Jill Fuller. For those who don't know, Jill is the person who hired me at the place that we do not talk about. So, again,
Hero and
villain, because I needed the job, but villain because
you got the job.
So, tell people about yourself, man.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I turned 50 last year.
Okay. That's fun. How was that?
Well, I mean, considering my circumstance, it wasn't the best.
Yeah.
I'm a widow.
Yeah.
That's the circumstance. I lost my husband. We were married for 18 years, and lost him in May of last year. I have a 27-year-old daughter. I have a 27. Oh goodness, is he the same age or a year older? I think he's a year older. 28-year-old son-in-law, and I hope to be grandma in the next 1 to 2 years. Yep. So I live in Mechanicsville. I've lived all over the country. I left Richmond and moved to California for 5 years, and then moved to Virginia Beach. And then because my husband passed away, I came back here since I know you and others, and Richmond feels like home to me. Yeah. So
You said that you've been all over. You're an interesting character.
yeah.
You're like, we've had conversations obviously during outings.
Yes, outings.
During outings, and like you've done a lot. I feel like
I've lived.
Yes, that's the term.
Yes.
That's the term that you've lived, and I want to get into some of those things. Especially, the one big question I need to know, and we'll get into it later, is why you love Depeche Mode so much.
Okay.
I need to know because
You don't get it?
I get when I think of bands, I think of certain bands, and Depeche Mode never comes up, so I need to know the feeling of Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
But yeah, our story begins basically. I just graduated from college. I was gonna try to play basketball overseas. That was the NBA lockout season, so it was kind of difficult to find certain, you know what I'm saying. So after a while, my parents were like, "Yo, you need to get a job." So I was staying with my sister at the time. I was like, "Yeah, okay." And at first I went to, those things on Indeed, "Oh yeah, come and we do sales or whatever," and they kind of "Oh, you don't go out in the field, you're just
kind of BS you into the
yeah."
job,
And then you get there and you're like, "All right, so we're all going to the van and we're going to Virginia Beach." I'm like, "Wait, what?"
We're gonna go sell magazines,
What?
door to door.
And we're going to knock door to door. I ain't dog,
No,
listen.
yeah.
I mean, I know we progressive dog, but I'm a 6'10" black dude, son, and I know no one's letting me near the house, man. Come on, knock it off. So after a week or two, yeah, no, I'm. So then I do go through Aerotech. Relatively quick too, by the way. Y'all must have been struggling for people. I had no experience in this.
We were in Midlow, right?
Yes.
Okay, it was in Midlow.
Yes,
Okay.
we were in Midlothian. So I put the application in. It was not even a few days after, they want to come in. You weren't there at the time. I was interviewed by someone else, and they did the interview for me, and I got the job on the spot. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Wow, y'all fell for that."
It worked.
I fell for that for some reason. So I get there, and I meet you for the first time. I'm like, "Okay, cool. She seems nice, or whatever." And then you talk to other people like, "Yeah, Jill is nice, but she can be a hard ass." I'm like, "Yeah." It's I don't see it. So then other people do stuff, and you see what you do to them. And I'm like, "Oh, so just avoid all of that, and I'll be fine." So what was your first experience? I guess meeting me. What was your first thoughts?
Well, the same thing everybody thinks. How tall are you?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
I remember my first impression of you was Gentle Giant.
Yeah.
That was kind of my first impression.
Yeah.
I remember I thought you were eager, hungry, appreciative for the opportunity, and I know that those are the makings of people that are going to work really hard and try their best for you. And so, putting those things together, that's where you got my heart.
Yeah. I'm glad that worked out too.
Now that I know differently, if I'd gone back and done some things, or maybe paid a little bit better attention, maybe not so much.
No, man, I would have been fine.
You've been fine.
But you brought today's wines, and I'm excited. We have, all right. Oh, it's Ferrari Carano.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? All right, Ferrari Carano Chardonnay from Sonoma County.
Yep.
Okay, so 2020, and you swear by this.
Yep.
And
It's good stuff.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like
It's not a cheap wine. It's not a ridiculously expensive wine, but it's good for its price range.
I like that.
Yep.
How heavy a pour am I doing here?
Pardon?
How heavy of a pour am I doing?
I have mastered drinking a bottle of wine in an evening, and I all the way to the top, and then there's 2 glasses, and that's how I roll.
I'm gonna give you this.
But
because
it's all going to end up in the glass. So whether you want to give it to me in little bits or big bits, it matters not, because I'm gonna drink the whole
Would
thing.
you like to pour the rest of yours?
It's fine. I'm good. Clueless Vino.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that you have these like custom. That's fantastic.
It was a, I want to say it was a Father's Day gift. Is what I'm almost positive. It was a Father's Day gift or birthday gift.
Well, that's amazing.
I was very appreciative.
I might have to get me some of these after this.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, so what we like to do is wait to, pretend like I'm actual, what do you call it? Sommelier? I'm not. So, we smell the swish.
No, it's drinking.
You want to just go straight? All right, here we go. Well, cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
That's good.
It does not suck.
It's got like a crisp taste to it. You know how like some Chardonnays are kind of sweet?
Yep.
This one starts off that way and then cuts with something, and I can't tell you what it is, and I need to figure
I want to say it's apple.
It's definitely some apple in here. It has to be. But every time I say that, it's never what
It's
I think it is. It's never
We'll have to
what
look
I
it
think
up. I don't know. Honestly, I've never looked it up. But I taste apple.
So it says aromas of pear,
Oh.
white peach, vanilla, orange blossom, and buttercream. That's the aromas. Rich flavors of apple,
That.
apricot, baking spices, and hazelnut with toasted oak notes round out this creamy, lingering finish. Well,
Do you agree with all that?
I mean, it's a lot of words. It sounds alright.
It's a lot of words. It's very complex.
Yeah, it sounds alright. Oh, yeah, it's good.
So do you want me to tell you my story of how I came about this?
Please.
So Neil and I used to like to go to Vegas, and we had dinner at Oscar's Steakhouse on Fremont Street I can't remember the hotel, but it's at the very end of the Fremont Street. And it's way up high, like in a round circle, and you can overlook Fremont Street.
Yeah.
And, we like to have steaks when we go out to dinner, and I know you're not really supposed to drink white wine with steaks, but I'm not really a red wine person. It gives me indigestion.
You're also rebellious.
Yeah, and I don't like to play by anybody else's rules. so this is the wine, the glass that I ordered with my steak dinner.
Okay.
And I remember having a dinner and being like, that's good. And I had to like make a mental note to go back and look up what the glass was.
Yeah.
And then, screenshot it, and then I started buying it from there.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
I like that. You said you went to Vegas. So I went to Vegas for the first time last year.
Oh, where did you stay?
I was at, what the heck is that hotel? We were on the strip. But what was that hotel? Wasn't the Venetian? Oh my God.
Caesars.
Not Caesars.
The Wynn. Paris. Bellagio.
I want to look it up now, but I don't want to take time. But it was a hotel right across from the Venetian. Like literally, like you can go like in a back cut and like I'd be at my hotel.
Is it on the same side or the other side of the street?
It's like the opposite side.
That's either Caesars or Bellagio.
It's one of them. I don't.
Is it the one that had the big fountain in front? That's Bellagio. Okay, then it's probably Caesars.
So we went there, and so the first thing that throws me off Vegas is, the time difference. Obviously, you get there, and you're like, oh, like I was looking at my plane tickets like every day. I'm like, oh, wait,
How do I?
am I getting that there at 1? Or am I getting there at 4? It was throwing me. It was throwing me off.
Yeah.
when am I getting there? I was like, am I connecting right? Like, no, it's just because I was like, oh, okay.
Because it's 3 hours difference, right?
Yes, and I was like, okay, it's cool, that's fine. Land, little jet lag thing, but I was like, okay, it's cool, it's fine. I can probably take a nap or whatever. But then the thing that throws me off the most is just that there's just no concept of time.
No, there is no concept
Vegas.
of time. No.
There's no clocks anywhere.
By design.
No matter what time you were
By design.
we would come in at like 3 or 4, and there's still people everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are y'all doing?
And you know, my thing is, when do people sleep? That's what I need to
Yes!
Because you see people at 6 a.m. Now, not as many people at 6 a.m., but
Right.
you can see people at 6 a.m., but you also see people at 3 a.m., and you're like, or sometimes you see the same people at like the pool in the morning, and then in the casino at night, and then back in the casino, and you're like,
It's like, when did you go to sleep?
Yeah. And they're wearing different clothes.
Yes, so I know you went back to the room.
Yeah.
And I was like, dog, why are the people so? And I would go back to the room after, going from out the night before. I would go to sleep, but I'd be up in like 3 hours. I'd be like, what happened?
Yeah,
This is a nap. And it was like that for the next 3 days. I was like, dog, I have to catch up on it. I still feel like I've never caught up on it.
Yep. It was cool when we lived in Southern California. We would drive to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't fly. But there were a couple times where we would go like on big holiday weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! And then having to drive home, like the traffic. Imagine
Oh,
200 miles of traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take us, like 3 hours to get there, 4 hours to get there, and like 9 hours to get home.
That's crazy.
And of course after being in Vegas for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, 9-hour drives like.
Yeah, that's got me murdered.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So just to circle back to our introduction, I was there for like 2 months, and then like you just offered me the job. But in between that time, like I think you learned really quickly with me is I don't like being micromanaged, and I'm not a fan of that. I think it was like one time you were like, yo, did you get that done? Like, yeah, I got it done. I think you came back later, like, are you sure? Like, I got it done. And I was like after that, you like never did it again. And then but every time you would ask me a question, I'd be like, well, what do you think? And my favorite, you brought me into your office.
Oh God.
You brought me into your office, and you asked me like a few questions, like, so what do you think? Like, well, I mean, what would you like? Oh, I mean, I'll do whatever you want to do. I mean, it's fine. It's like, cause I can do whatever. And you looked at me, you said, you don't like to argue with you, do you? I was like, nah, not at all. I just feel like it's easier this way if I just agree with everything. As long as the thing I like about you is a lot of your stuff made common sense. Like a lot of your decisions made common sense. Like it was never like, oh, we should do it this way because we should do it. I'm like, well, I'm a why guy. Like, why are we doing it this way? So I never had to do that with you. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, well, this is it, and cool. I was cool with it.
Well, I think also too, I explain why, so people are not left wondering what's the motivation behind whatever. But my funny story when I think about you and I think about work, and I know you're I don't even know when the last time is you heard this word, but I'm sure it's going to give you some flashbacks. So I'm glad you're sitting down. When I think of you, I think of the word clicks. Right?
Yeah.
So do you remember we had like all those like gazillion little widgets
Yeah.
piled up, and I lovingly called them clicks.
I just clicked.
And you had to just click.
Say, gotta make sure you get these meetings. I was like, oh my god.
Clear the clicks.
And I was okay though because we get like bonuses back
then. For clicking.
So I was like, I mean, we gotta get some clicks. We got some clicks though. I'm cool with it.
Burn the clicks.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I make sure I get all my clicks in for the day. Yeah, I just remember you were off. You were out. You called me. I was in the office. You're like, hey, you like what you do? I'm like, yeah, it's cool. You want the job? I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
And that's when I became the villain.
And at the time, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. Then I got my next paycheck. I was like, oh, I remember because I was you were in Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh no, I'm sorry, Veronica.
Yes, well, yes.
I said
there was both of those, but yes.
I looked at my paycheck, and I know what I'm supposed to do at the time. I was like, is that number right? I was like, yo, is that right? Because I was like, because
It was bad?
No, it was bigger than that. Like, you gotta understand, bro. Like, that's my, to this day, it's still like my first adult job.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was like, is that right?
You're gonna pay me this much for clicks?
I was like, I it's wrong, but like I just need to make sure that you know what I'm saying. She's like, no, that's right. It's like, oh, well, dang. So at the time it was great.
Yeah.
And then over time.
I understand.
Over time.
I understand.
When you walked up, it's crazy because we follow each other on Facebook, and like I see it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, but it didn't click because I've known you for so long, so I think of you as one way. So when you came with the blonde hair, I was like, oh, holy shit.
Just now?
Yeah.
When I showed up just now?
Because I was like, because in my mind I've seen it, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, you're cool, but then I was like it didn't hit me until I was like, oh yeah, that actually did change it.
Yeah.
So like, what was the motivation?
Well, honestly, I mean, I was just tired of fucking gray. I'm not gonna lie. I was having to color my hair every, 3 to 4 weeks, and always having roots, and I was just sick of it.
Yeah.
And I've been a redhead for, 49 years, I guess at that point. I talked about going blonde several times, but, Neil always liked my red hair. Oh, no, I like your red, so I just never did it. But, kind of like new beginnings, I guess.
Yeah.
Just time to do something different.
Okay.
Yeah.
How you like that? Is it
being blonde?
Yeah. How do you say?
Do blondes have more fun?
There it is. Like, yeah.
I hate to admit that I'm doing okay so soon, but I am. So yeah, I guess so. I think it's more my mindset and my circumstance than my hair. So.
I mean, it's good to get like a fresh start sometimes.
Yeah.
Just to.
Well, I feel like I have a fresh start with everything except the job. The job just keeps.
Yeah.
Just sucking.
Are you in a similar field now, or is like what's the?
I do the exact same thing. I'm just one level up.
Gotcha.
So I'm remember Boss Man?
Yes.
I'm Boss Man now.
Yeah. Shout out to Boss Man.
I actually spoke with Boss Man a couple weeks ago. Or a week ago. He's doing good. He lives in Arizona.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for him.
Yeah.
He was fun.
He was a good guy. I refer to him as best boss ever. So.
Well, that's why I refer to you as. So.
Huh?
That's why I refer to you.
Well,
as,
so then I understand how you feel about it, because I know how I feel about Boss Man.
Yeah, he spoiled us that one time though.
That one time? Well, one time, yes, because otherwise everybody was buying Boss Man drinks, and Boss Man had plenty of money to cover our tab every night, every single Friday night.
But it threw me off. It's like, oh yeah, he's like, oh the boss is coming. I was like, all right, cool, that's cool. He's like, he's taking us out for a drink. I'm like, wait, what? Like, he took the whole, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Everybody, at least one of them was one drink.
At O'Malley's or
yeah, that's where we used to go.
Was it O'Malley's?
I think it was O'Malley's.
Is that the name of the place? It's like a
Irish. It was an Irish bar, it was back where in Midlothian, but it's right across. It was like right around where that Sheets is. It was like in the what's called
by Outback and Firebird and yeah.
I remember that. I was like, this is what's gonna be like. I'm like, oh yeah, and it wasn't quite like that, but he was like,
but he was cool.
Yeah, like so it was dope. It was dope, man.
When I spoke with him a week ago, I told him that we had some conversations about having a reunion, a Friday night Dito's reunion.
Yeah. And
he was like, oh, that would be amazing. I said, would you fly out for a Dito's reunion he's like, I don't know that I would fly out for a Dito's reunion, but.
we had to incentivize it a little bit more.
Yeah, he'll have to give him dangle a little bit bigger carrot than that, but Dito's was good times.
Oh my gosh. I was just thinking about that today. I was going to like Dito's and doing a reunion or something, just to hang out with everybody.
Yeah. Vodka Red Bulls is still my jam, though.
Is it really?
It really is. Still my jam.
Like, I don't mind having them, right? I'll drink them, especially if I'm out somewhere. I'm like, no, I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
Like, let me go and hit this vodka Red Bull.
Yeah.
But it's like the most confusing drink ever.
It really is.
It's like you telling your body, like, hey, this
go up.
This alcohol. Hey, taking us down. Oh, but it's Red Bull. Let's bring this up. What are we doing right now?
It just keeps you toddling, like, on the edge.
But then it's like we're doing like 3 or 4 of them, so it's like.
3 or 4 was before the sun went down for some of us.
Like, what are we doing? Oh, we did Jaeger bombs. We used to do Orange Crushes. We were doing everything.
I remember Boss Man used to order the B-52s, but it had to be layered. Do you remember that?
We had the Irish Car Bomb. Oh. I think you did your first one.
Zach.
Yeah, you did your first one with Zach.
And he would always make me do, and then that's when he did it, so I would start messing with my hair. Right? You remember he used to call me Sideshow Bob because I would mess with my hair. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Those are good times.
Yeah, there's pictures too. Franklin has pictures too of me and the hair. I know they're keeping it like, that's why I have to be kind to everybody,
Yep.
because there's too many pictures.
Just too much evidence.
Too
lying
much
around.
evidence.
Too much evidence
Yeah.
lying around. Yeah, we had so many good times. What was the first place we used to go to though? It was when we moved down here. It was the one
On Broad.
What was it called?
It's gone, but it was across the street from like that big parking lot. There's like a bread factory or something.
And right across is Lee's Chicken.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the name of the place,
What
but
is the name of that place? Oh, that's gonna kill me.
And Boss Man used to sit in that big king chair at the end of the.
God.
And that's where.
Republics.
Yes, Republic. Oh.
Yes.
And Franklin played his band played there one time. Yep.
Oh, that was good times. Me and Zach almost.
That's where it all started.
Me and Zach almost got fighting there. It was a great times.
Zach always wanted to fight with everybody. I remember one time I had to like keep him and Giovanni separated from each other across the table. It was funny.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of money those nights.
Do you remember the running joke was whether or not Neil got paid?
Mm-hmm.
To determine whether or not I was buying shots of. I'm
those-
sorry, Neil. I'm sorry.
Those are the best days. You got paid.
Yeah, Neil got paid.
You got paid.
Around his shots.
Yes.
I'm sorry. You know he's looking down right now, being like, you. Sorry.
Oh man. So the Rams.
Yep.
The Rams. I know that when y'all out there in LA, Neil did a lot of LA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Was the Rams one of them too?
No.
Well, they weren't there yet, right?
No, they were there.
Okay, they were
Yeah.
there.
Neil worked for the Angels.
Angels.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was a tour guide. He used to give tours of Angel Stadium, and then he did a little bit of press stuff with them too. But it was kind of short-lived because he got in at the beginning of the season, and then when the season was over, not a whole lot of work for tour guides, right? So I mean, he was getting like no hours, and he was getting frustrated. So the coolest job, I think, aside from him being a sports writer, was working at PSA.
Okay.
So for those of you that don't know what PSA is, it's I know Jonathan does. He worked at PSA, and he was part of like grading baseball cards and other sports memorabilia. So he loved that job. He loved being a part of it, but he was a little frustrated with some of the processes that were designed, and that he was a stickler for quality work. If people didn't work to his standard, he would get incredibly frustrated. Yeah. An interesting thing to share about Neil for people that don't know is he was a collector himself to a fault. I mean, he and I used to get into lots of fights about how much money he would spend on baseball cards and that sort of stuff. Just a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
let me guess, they were an investment.
Yeah, they were an investment to him.
Yeah.
They were an investment to well, and ultimately to me.
Yeah.
But we got in many a fight over how much money he would spend, and it was funny. I found out after he passed away. I've become good friends with two people that he worked with, that he confided in, and he used to tell them how I would give him such a hard time about spending so much money on this stuff.
Yeah.
So he developed a strategy to do this without letting me know.
Nice.
It's pretty slick. He would make up reasons to go to the store. Oh, I need shaving cream and this, that, and the other. Oh, I forgot to get this at the grocery store when we went to the grocery store. Yeah. And he would pick up eBay gift cards.
Nice.
And then that's how he would keep it from showing up as transactions.
Nice.
And he would go shopping, and he would come home, and and I'd be like, how much did you spend? And he'd be like, oh, it was $89. But I'm like, how did shaving cream and toilet paper come into like $89 or whatever? And he was like, well, it's California, the price of everything, So his friends confided in me after he passed away what he was doing. I was like, little shit.
That's funny.
But he made me promise to donate it to animal charity. Like he said, whenever he never asked me. He told me. Yeah. When he died, that I was supposed to sell his collection and donate it to animal charity. So I've been working on that behind the scenes. I've sold almost $100,000 worth of stuff. Yeah, and we've got the last batch about to go through. I have a LeBron James rookie up for sale right now. I think it's like $15,000. I've got a Steph Curry. I can't remember what I've sold or not. I know I had a Michael Jordan rookie that I gave him for a 10th wedding anniversary that I sold for a nice penny. But there's a Steph Curry and LeBron James. I think I sold the LeBron. Maybe it's the Steph Curry that's still. But I have a lot of other cards. But like the last 100 cards are going through grading or whatever. But
that's so cool.
Yeah, I know he had originally said he just wanted me to just probably write a check. But the two dogs that I rescued from Puerto Rico, I've become good friends with the lady that founded that. So I'm actually going to build a pavilion in Virginia Beach on the lady that founded the rescue's farm, and name it after Neil.
That's so cool.
Yep, and it's going to support like the rescue long term. Like they'll do charity work there and adoptions there and training and stuff. So it's much bigger than just write somebody a check and hope they do good with it.
I like that. I like that you're hands on with it,
Yeah.
and that it's a vision
Yeah.
for like what you want to do with that.
And it's permanent, right? It's
Yeah.
more than just a
So
write a
it's
check.
like one time thing. Like it's gonna last like for years on after this. That's so cool, man.
Yep.
Because y'all are big animal people,
Yep.
specifically dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically dogs. So now you have how many now? I know one recently passed away, I think. Maybe not recently, but like
Yeah,
one,
Macy, our
yeah.
white bulldog,
Mhm.
she passed away a week before we moved to Virginia Beach. It was devastating. And then we waited, and then Neil and I adopted a chocolate lab,
Mhm.
Mud. She called it Coconut Lab because she's from Puerto Rico. She's not Casey or anything.
Yeah.
But so we adopted her in February before he passed, and then after he passed, I adopted a second dog from Puerto Rico because she needed a sibling. So I had two.
Nice. How's that? How's that been going?
They're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah, Maggie's she turned 1 in November, so she's Miss Independent, doesn't
Right.
free thinker. She's still a lot like her mommy. She wants to do her own thing. Nobody's
Right.
gonna tell her what to do. The
Yeah.
other one is just glued to me, and just wants to be with me. So she's well behaved.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I wish. So like, I want to get dogs. I want to get pets. Like technically, what I want to do is I want to get like a cat and a dog and just raise them together. That's what I want to do. I just feel like
They're a lot of work.
that A, they're a lot of work. B, I'm gonna be the one to take care of them. And C, with another kid coming in the house, it's like
Yeah.
I just feel like that's
And cats. The thing that is my thing with cats is the litter box. I just don't
Sure.
like the litter box and the scratching.
I'm super willing to just get one of those self litter boxes.
Yeah, but you still have to deal with it.
You
The
do.
smell.
That's
Track it around the house.
Like, I can deal with that though. Like we had a cat before, and like I'm a cat person really.
Mhm.
Like at the heart, I'm a cat person because we're very similar, very independent. When
Just do your thing.
When I want to cuddle, whatever, I come up like, hey, what's up?
And when you
I'm done,
don't?
like, all right, bro, like that's enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's it. Like that's why I like cats. But I do like dogs. I used to have we had a lot of Dobermans growing up. So like Dobermans are like my favorite dogs.
Mhm.
But I think they're not like big and like big dogs.
Yeah.
Like, which is weird. 'Cause,
Dobermans are big.
They are. But I'm like, dog, you're just as big, bro. Like,
Yeah.
and you're going to get bigger. But you just don't like them when they get excited and jump.
Now, do you work from home?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh my.
Are you ever gonna have to go back to the office? As long as
If God loves me, no.
Oh, okay. Because that's another thing too. I mean, it's one thing to have pets when you're working from home, and another
Yeah.
one you have to like leave them by themselves all day. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think if we don't get a Doberman, we might do a corgi. And I don't want to get like small dogs, but like I like corgis. They're funny because they that
My sister has a corgi.
That little walk is funny.
Yeah.
Like,
The booty thing
Yeah,
is
like,
a real
like
thing.
it's funny.
Yeah. They shed really, really, really bad. And I'll tell you a funny story about my sister's corgi. So he loves me,
Mhm.
right? He loves me, but he's so protective of my sister
Yeah.
that when I go to California, I usually end up cutting my nephew's hair, Cooper, and then I cut my sister's hair too as well. But so because he's so protective of her, I will tell you, last time I was cutting her hair, he jumped up and bit me in the crotch.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
so that's the thing with me. Like when you get too close, he'll bite you in the crotch.
Sheesh.
So he's a shed machine and he's a crotch biter.
Well, that's a
Now,
that's
if you want a crotch biter, if you
I
feel
mean,
that
that's your
way,
thing. Like,
yeah,
you
that's
know,
what I'm
I
saying,
mean,
that
that's-
enhances your life,
Yeah,
then
that's
corgi
your
might be
thing,
for you.
your thing, yeah,
I don't know that I think about that. Sorry. Sorry. I'm gonna blame it on the wine.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so like what did you watch the Super Bowl? Were you rooting for the LA Rams?
I was watching it a little bit on the side. It was funny. I think I was texting somebody throughout, and then I realized what was going on with the halftime, and I was like, wait a minute, what's all that? And then of course I didn't really pay it. I think I had a moderate amount of wine too after that, so I had to go back and rewatch bits and pieces because everybody was raving about how good it was. I personally like the Eminem,
Sure.
part the best because
Sure.
yeah, no caption needed.
Sure.
But yeah, that was I was rooting for the Rams, and I know that when they won, I knew, it was funny, I put on my husband's jersey, and, jerseys are supposed to be loose, and, anybody that knows Neil was a, average sized person, so I was like, I'm going to get it on. It was like I was like a sausage, right? But that Rams jersey was on.
It was on. It was on.
It was tight, but it was on.
I like that. I like that. So you still watching sports now? Like, do you keep that? Because, I mean, you're a somewhat sports person.
Yeah.
So are you still rooting for California teams? Like, how?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't watch sports now. I mean, I was the supportive wife, right?
Right, yeah.
But if a Ducks game is on and there's nothing else going on and I got, I'll stop and watch it for a minute, or an Angels game or whatever. I mean, but I will tell you, sports was on at my house 24/7. So I mean, especially with as long as baseball season is, I was like, please, can something other than the Angels be on the television? Seriously.
And you know what the worst part about baseball is? It's like they do it in series. So like it's like
the same team for like 7 days straight.
Like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's the same game. Like, so please let it be someone else.
Yeah, I had dinner at Outback last night with a friend, and we ended up sitting at the bar, and they had the Carolina and Tech game on. Yeah. And it was funny. There was a lady by herself sitting next to me when the game was over, and she was like, "Go Carolina!" And she was like, "I hate anybody as long as they beat Tech." And I was thinking to myself, I'm so used to hearing about Duke and and UNC, and it was either a great day or a horrible day at my house when that game was on. And it started just with basketball, but it ended up being all sports.
Yeah.
It ended up being all sports.
Basketball is usually the norm, but once you get that deep in your blood, that Carolina blows
up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Neil was insane.
That's everything.
He was insane. I mean, he didn't even. There were times where he wouldn't let me watch the game. He wouldn't watch the game because he would think that we would like jinx it. Yes, seriously.
Yep.
And also, I don't know if you know this or not, but I actually buried him in Chapel Hill. Yeah. Specifically, it was about 1.5 miles down the road from New Jersey, because I knew that's where he wanted to be.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And his urn is actually Carolina blue too.
That's actually pretty dope though, because they're usually gold or whatever. Like that, the real gold. Carolina blue is kind of fire. Yeah. That's kind of fire. Yeah. Oh man, that's dope, man. You said that you're 27 now.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
How old were you when I hired you?
I was just 22.
I was really 22 or 23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
Well, I mean, the fact that I was Jill, and then I was Mommy, and and then the evolution to Grandma is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, and like that's gonna be a fun thing for you.
Yeah.
The thing about grandparents is like they get all the benefits of like just hanging out with the kid. Like when they're done, it's like, you know what, just hey man.
I have heard that you love your grandchild more than you love your child, which I know.
Apparently.
Until you're there, you can't conceptualize that. But so I'm excited because I know how much I love my nephew.
Right.
I mean, my baby sister's son Cooper has my heart, and she sends me videos, like I got I love you, Angel, for Valentine's Day, and it just melts my heart. And that's my nephew, not my blood
right.
So I'm excited.
It's gonna be man. I mean, I'm not dealing with like the grand thing, like hopefully for a while now, but having a new kid is gonna be interesting for me.
Wait, you're having another one?
Yeah, you didn't get that just a few minutes ago? I've been on Facebook. It's on Facebook and everything, bro.
Oh.
Yeah.
When did you find that out?
First of all, I planned this one. So.
Oh, okay.
So I planned this one. So
I made an assumption there.
I'm playing this.
No, seriously, how long? How did I miss that?
We announced it last weekend.
Okay, all right. So it's not like it's
old news.
No,
I wouldn't like. Oh, I announced last weekend.
Okay, so you know what I do for a living, and you know how many hours I work.
I know.
And it's
I know.
It's a lot of work and then alcohol and then sleep and then work and then alcohol and then sleep.
Right. So. Yeah. What the was strategy?
The what?
The was strategy. Work out, no sleep. WAS.
Yeah. I live that. So.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, no. We're having a second child. This is the last one. Yeah, I'm done with this one.
Okay, but this was planned. So
this was planned. Yeah. Like so yeah, I think we're 15 weeks in right now. So
congratulations.
Yeah, man. Thank you. But
I feel terrible for not knowing.
No, man. Like we did the Facebook
second best boss ever.
Nah, still number one.
Still number one.
Still number one. I went through the whole early morning thing, and I was like, oh man, I'm trying to catch up on all the sleep I can now. I was like, it's gonna be different at 32 instead of 25. Like it's gonna be so different. Oh, it's gonna be so different.
Yeah, I had my daughter when I was 23. So
you know, like though early, like waking up at like 12 or 1 or 2, like, okay, cool, boom, I'm up. I'm up, and I know I can go back to sleep easily.
Yes, yes, yes. So
now, I feel like I'm gonna wake up. I'm like, oh my god.
it's a whole different ball game.
I'm like, oh my god. And then like, oh man, I'm excited about I'm excited. I'm excited about the journey. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I just gotta get through these first 2 to 3 years, and after that, it's
cool sailing. Yep.
Like, cause then they get their personality and stuff. Like, I can deal with that. It's just that early stuff. Like,
get them out of diapers, off the bottle.
You know, like that's my sweet spot. I'm good after that.
Yep.
Like that early part's like, bruh, it's like a second job.
Yeah. So you've just confirmed that you don't need a dog or a cat.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I like we can just wait on that. Yeah. Like let's get through this one, and like then we can get the dog and cat. Yep. Once we feel like if she was like, oh, I want another, like nope. All cat.
That's right.
All
because
cat
when the women start to get that itch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's dog cat time. But that's cool. I want you to be a great grandma. I feel like you'd be a great grandma.
You think so?
What would you want to be called though? Like a lot of people when they become a grandma, they don't want to be called a grandma. Like I feel like it's an old thing now. Like grandma's not like a thing. Grandma, like they don't want that. They want like Yaya.
No, I'm pretty.
Gigi or something like that.
No, I think that's silly. I would be grandma.
You grandma?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was raised grandma with last name. So Grandma Summer and Grandma Keller.
That's the same thing with me. Yeah.
My daughter was raised Grandma Jane and Grandma Carolyn, first names. So I would probably be Grandma Jill.
Okay, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's that old school mentality.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Which is funny because I'm not real classic.
Right.
Anything.
No.
I'm really not. But there's certain things that I don't know. I think just kind of work.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though. Yeah. I can't wait for that day for you.
And you know I'm gonna get one more tattoo when that comes up, right? I'm gonna have a baby name on me somewhere.
Right. You got to.
Yeah.
You gotta add a little ink in there.
Yeah.
All right, man. All right, it's time. I need to know.
Depeche Mode.
Yeah, it's time. It's
so
time.
what is it that confuses you? But like why?
It's not that it confuses me. It's like, okay. First of all, how did you come to love Depeche Mode? If you could explain Depeche Mode to someone that doesn't know anything about them, how do you explain it?
So Depeche Mode is an electronic band that has been around since the early '80s. I lost my dad when I was 13. So that was in '82. And right at that time is when I started to like notice, like I always liked disco. When I was young, I liked disco. So I love like Donna Summer and the classic disco. Saturday Night Live or Saturday Night Fever, Saturday Night Fever, all that classic disco. Yeah. And I think that's what segued into electronica in the '80s.
Sure. Yeah.
And so when my dad passed away, I got really rebellious.
Sure.
And that's when I started like dabbling into things that were a little left of center. And that's when I don't know, I think I heard Depeche Mode on the radio, believe it or not. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, this is different, right? Yeah. And just started listening to it, and Depeche Mode was like, for people like me at that time, they were our voice. Depeche Mode was very dark. At the beginning, they were fluffy and silly, like, all early 80s band, but then they morphed into more dark, and for anybody that knows anything about me, I was into goth and all that stuff, industrial music and all that stuff in the 80s, so I identified with the dark and the angst and the dramatic and the, and there was a lot of sexual undertone to things, and all that stuff just intrigued me. And, they've been my favorite band for, so I'm 50, so I think I discovered them when I was like 13, so it's been over 35 years.
Wow. And that's funny that you say that they started out fluff, but they went
dark.
Because usually what ends up happening is people start off dark and go pop or something.
You think?
You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, Avril Lavigne, when she first came out, Avril Lavigne did that.
That's because they mellow when they get older.
Yeah. And it's almost, I think a lot of people say the same thing about it. It's not in the same vein, but it's like Green Day. Yeah. Green Day started off really kind of like edgy, moody, and then went to like pop. So like it's weird that it was the opposite.
I think it was the time though. I think the early '80s was, think about early '80s non-alternative music was cheesy, right? So the original song that I think got Depeche Mode started was Just Can't Get Enough. And I think everybody knows Just Can't Get Enough, right? Just can't get enough.
Yeah.
I just, yeah, and then it went to People Are People, and then that's when it really kind of started to go dark.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you have gone to a bunch of concerts.
Depeche Mode concerts?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I've seen every tour since Black Celebration, with one exception, and that's Violator, that I missed because I was living in Tulsa, and the closest they came was Dallas, and I couldn't get there. But aside from that, I've seen every tour since Black Celebration, which was in 1986, and a couple times I've seen the concert more than once. Like, there was one show where I saw them in D.C., and then I flew and saw them in Houston. And then the last tour, I saw them in L.A. at the Hollywood Bowl, and then I saw them at the Honda Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's a Depeche Mode concert like? Is it has it morphed over the years? Like, is it like I assume like in the 80s are the 80s, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, but they're making music. I mean,
Yeah.
now.
Right. And all the original members are still.
No. They
Okay.
had a drummer. Alan Wilder left back, in the 90s.
Okay.
But the other three have stayed intact. But I'm all about Dave. I'm all about the singer. That's my boy.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the concerts are big theatrical productions. I mean, they've got huge video screens and the lights and the sound, and Dave gives 110 every night. I mean, it's like a religious experience. It really is. It's really that good.
If you had to compare them to another band that I may know,
Oh gosh.
is there some form of comparison? Maybe not an exact.
Well, there's no exact.
Okay.
I don't even know if there's anything close. A band that you would know that I would. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you want to guess?
I'm gonna give them a go this week. I'm gonna go look up some Depeche Mode songs and just try to. I'm gonna go on my Spotify.
Okay.
They got like the Spotify how to do it. They have like top 5 most popular.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go through those.
If you need an easy album to listen to, the most commercially acceptable album would be Violator.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where Violator has Enjoy the Silence.
Okay.
Do you know that?
Nope.
You do.
Well,
You just don't
here's
know.
the thing. I'm a big person where I may know a song by ear, but if you tell me the title, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So like if I hear, I'm like, oh no, I know this song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
If there's any album that you've probably been exposed to, it would probably be Violator. That's the most commercial, well done album.
Okay. Now, did you pass that down to your
Amber?
daughter?
Oh yeah.
And just
Yeah.
accepted
No,
it
I mean
with-
she was raised on the music. I mean, my first husband, Amber's dad, was a musician.
Yeah.
And so he used to make music and write music, and she was constantly exposed to electronica. She's pulled away from it a little bit now, but I will tell you, I took Amber to get her first tattoo.
Yep.
And her very first tattoo was right here on the back of her neck, and it's Enjoy the Silence.
Nice.
Which is
That's pretty.
the album I
That's
just took.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
So yes, Amber is a Depeche Mode fan, and like when she would have to drive me somewhere, she would always make sure to put on her Depeche Mode playlist and drive me to the airport or wherever. So
Now, do you get Depeche Mode tattooed?
I have several.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you like to divulge what they are?
I have a Om symbol right here, which is the exact same tattoo that Dave Gahan has in the same place. And then I did my first tattoo is here on my ankle, and I actually did that myself when I was 16. Yes. And then I had a tattooed artist go over and clean it up for me.
No. We're not just glossing over that. So
Yes.
like when you said you were rebellious, I understand that. Like that's fine. Like I get that. I didn't realize you were rebellious enough to just give yourself a tattoo.
Oh yeah.
So-
I had 16 holes in my ears. I did all those
so
too.
Can you just like tell me, explain that one? Like what?
Tattoo?
The entire process. Dude, like you gave yourself a tattoo at 16. Like what? Oh, okay. What made? First of all, what made you do it? I'm assuming you asked your mother.
No.
No, I assume you asked your mother, could you get a tattoo? And she said no.
No.
So you just was like one day like, yo, I want a tattoo.
Yeah. There was no asking of my. Sorry, Mom. If you see I'm Facebook friends with my mom, so if you tag me on this, she's gonna see it. Sorry, Mom. I did not ask if I could get a tattoo. In fact, I hid my tattoo that I did for myself because it was on my ankle. I wore socks.
Yeah.
So she couldn't see it. And then we were at a hotel for something, and I forgot to put on a sock, and she saw it, and I got busted.
Oh my god.
Remember that, Mom? That really happened.
So where did you get the equipment? Like,
so I use like an ink pen and like a needle and just.
no, the 80s were wild. The 80s were wild.
I pierced my ears sitting in like chemistry class, just bored. I mean, I didn't go to school too much, but so I have 16 holes in my ears. They've all pretty much,
You have 16 holes in your ears.
Yeah. 8 inch.
Oh, okay.
How did you not know these things?
No, because I just be minding my business.
I know.
I just be minding my business.
Well, what's funny is, and so I'm going to turn the table a bit. I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
So, because this is my poll that I like to take from people. So, when I found through the years, when people first meet me, they have impression A of me, and then after they get to know me, they have impression B of me. So you touched on it a little bit that most people think that I'm either a prude, which baffles me for all the things we've been talking about. They either think I'm a prude or I'm a complete bitch, and of which I am neither. So, I mean, I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I mean, do you understand why I'm saying that? Would that baffle you to think that, or does that make sense to you?
I don't understand the prude one.
Yeah,
that one doesn't make
the bitch I can kind of understand.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I personally didn't think you were a bitch, to be fair. Like, I never got that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe from other people, maybe, I guess. For me, I guess my first impression was, like, I thought you were, in I guess, what's the word for it? I thought you were a badass in the sense that you were in a male-dominated, like,
Industry.
But you carried yourself like, I don't give a shit about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that, like, for me, that was what I thought. I was like, oh, nah, she bodying these other dudes. You know what I'm saying? So that's what my thing was. And, like, it never changed for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I always felt like, okay, no, she carries herself like, and I don't, she carries herself like she's one of the guys.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? So yeah. that's how I always look at you.
And you know what's funny is I used to say that. I used to say that to men that I would develop good relationships with, closely, like Boss Man and Mr. Talbot and whatnot. I would always say, no, don't mind your P's and Q's around me. I'm one of the boys. But it's funny. In the last year, I've tried to do some self-discovery. Because when you get married, you probably understand this to some degree. When you get married, you become a spouse, right? And there's an element, I think, of losing a little bit of your identity because you become this partner with somebody.
Right.
So, not being in that space anymore, I've been trying to self-assess who am I?
Right.
Not that I had identity issues, but what I've really come to realize is more about myself in the element the space that you're talking about, and I like to refer it as being dominant. And so, when I think back about where I had trouble in life with, like, Neil, and where things weren't great or there were struggles, it all goes back to that point.
Right. Okay.
And I was thinking this when you were talking earlier about how you said it's just easier to agree, and that's the best way to deal with a dominant woman.
Right.
It's just go.
We're the boss. Not as well.
Yeah, just whatever you say.
Not as well.
But yeah, and it's funny because I didn't think about myself in those terms, 10 years ago when you first met me, or however long it's been. But I think about myself in those terms now.
So that's a good conversation though. When you were rising in ranks, right? Did you feel like you had to overcompensate for that, like being in a male-dominated thing where it's a guys' club, per se?
The biggest insecurity that I had rising through the ranks was not my gender; it was more my weight.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because men are men and boys are boys, and how you look matters. Whether we can sit here and say it shouldn't or it doesn't, it does. And so I felt like that was my biggest thing, was my weight. And so maybe subconsciously I had to overcompensate for that
Okay.
by trying to be the best at everything.
Yeah.
You know, I was always the put me in coach.
Right.
You know, and so maybe I tried harder because of that. I'm not really sure. I'd have to really ponder on that to give you I haven't thought about that too much, but
Yeah.
but I know being sensitive to my weight was always something that was kind of on the back of my head.
I guess for me, it was just always cool to see. Um, I mean, me personally, like when we would have like big meetings, and it'd be these guys or whatever, and they're like, they're puffing their chests out, or whatever, and it was always just good to see like you just knock them down a little bit every now and then. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
I was like, oh, look at them. They didn't see it coming. You know, that was always fun to me.
That is such a compliment for me, especially the fact that I'm sharing that I'm really trying to reassess who I am, because these are things that I kind of knew but didn't really think too much about. I just kind of did, and that's kind of the cool thing about being honest with yourself is to go, oh, this was always here. I wasn't trying. It's just who I am. You know.
Yeah, and I never thought it was like a bad thing. You know, I think some people, obviously some people get like intimidated by like strong women or whatever, and they just they're outdated views of women should be submissive and women should be quiet. Those weird bullshit things.
Yeah.
But
the funny thing is I'm not a feminist.
Okay.
I'm not.
Expound on that, I guess.
I say I'm not. I have a friend that I worked with at Carrington in California who I learned a lot from. Her name is Candace. And she was the first person that I connected with that was a true feminist. And I remember still struggling. I think she and I still probably have some things to learn from her, not so much the other way around. But I'm not a go girl power because I feel like that I want it to be like neutral. Right.
It shouldn't matter.
Right.
It's basically what you're getting.
Yeah.
It's too much of a focus on we should do this. I want y'all to be empowered, but me, I just don't want it to matter.
Yeah.
I want it to matter that you're disqualified for whatever, or you're the best person. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want, and I understand that for sure.
So that's why I don't necessarily consider. Maybe I am a feminist. I just don't understand the terminology, or maybe I need to evolve a little bit more. But I want it to not be a thing.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing with just like, and with a lot of different minority groups. You know what I'm saying? Like or oppressed groups. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't matter your sexuality. It shouldn't matter your race. It shouldn't matter any of these things. It should just be like, I'm qualified for this, and that's what it is. And it's not that I don't. I agree with these groups, and I agree with these messages. And I guess just for me, I just wanted to not matter.
Yeah.
And like everybody says, the people who perpetuate that view the most are the people who always say, it doesn't matter. Like it clearly matters to you.
Because you're having to call out the fact.
You know what I'm saying? So I want it to be a thing where like we're all just like nothing matters. I know like that's a perfect world type thing.
Well, I was listening to a podcast actually yesterday, and the woman was talking about. She said she was 49, and I think the podcast is like a year old, so she's probably my age. And she said that she is part of so you have boomers, and then you have millennials, and then you got the Gen Xers in the middle, and I'm a part of Gen X, right? And so the boomers want everything to stay the same, right? They're my my mom, and the people that are 10 years older than me. So they're the ones that want to keep tradition, right? And they're set in their ways or whatever. And then Gen Xers are the ones that want, and you're Gen X, right? No, you're millennial. Sorry.
Probably.
The millennials, you're on the cusp, I think. But the millennials are the ones that don't want there to be any, distinction or whatever. And then the Gen Xers in the middle, we're kind of in the middle going, we got a half a toe in one side and half a toe in the other. And it's interesting how we're kind of almost, getting pulled in two different directions. So I lean much more to the millennial side. I'm incredibly blue,
Mm-hmm.
if you will,
Right.
and open-minded. I mean, when I grew up, all of my friends were gay men,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I mean, I'm very pro, alternative lifestyle, and
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and so it's easy for me to have that stance.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. We all envision a perfect world, and I'm, I'm a, I'm cynical, bro. Like, I'm super cynical.
No.
So, like, for me,
No.
it's just like, I want things to be better. It's like, I don't see a vision where, like, because, like, even if, like, we get, in no disrespect to both, I'm always the person that's like, for things to get better, like, people gotta die off, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people gotta die off, bro. That's why when Thanos was, like, snapping fingers and knocking people half out the world, like, I mean,
sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Like, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
You know.
But there's a rising. There's this weird rumbling going on. I mean, if you look at, if you pay attention to politics and and the right wing, I mean, it's down there brewing. And
but that's the thing. It's like the boomers, like they raise kids, so it's like. Unless they just was like, yeah, this doesn't sound right, or then they follow whatever happens. So it's like it's just tough, man.
Yeah,
It's
not to get to a heavy topic, but my brother-in-law, my baby sister's husband, is Filipino,
Okay.
and I learned a lot from him. I also have a very, very good friend in California who I adore. Her name is Diane, and she and I would ride the train, the Metrolink. That's how we met.
Nice.
And she's black. And so I've learned so much from these two individuals over the last couple of years about race and stuff like that, and white privilege, and that white privilege is a real thing, even though I was raised to, and I don't think I was explicitly raised, but I didn't believe in it.
Right.
I didn't think racism existed because it didn't exist in my mind. So if
Right.
it didn't exist in my mind, it wasn't a real thing.
It wasn't a real thing, correct.
But I've learned so much about it from these two. But I remember something that Michael said to me that was just so profound. And he said that racism's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been like kind of like hush hush and back room, but the T word has allowed it to be out there.
Right.
And so now people are more comfortable about just being blatant about it. And I was like, wow, that is so true. It's and so if it becomes socially acceptable, then it festers, right?
Yeah.
And it blossoms, and it when you have access to something,
right.
It's a lot easier to spread it around. So that's what I worry about.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. I was like, did you call it the T word? I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man, where it's a double-edged sword. It's like, I'm glad that it's out. I'm glad that people are seeing, like, hey, this stuff happens all the time.
So you can't be like me, where it's
Right.
like la 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 la.
Yeah.
It's not in my head, so it doesn't exist.
So,
No.
But then it's like you get those people who are like, well, they have excuses for everything. Like, it's just one person, or it's like, so you mean to tell me all the biggest person in the world, it's just this one person? It's like, come on, like, it's not that we're not asking people to just everybody's not gonna convert over time. Though some people might not ever. Like, that's just how they are. That's how they are. But we're telling you to take a stand against it. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Don't ignore the signs. Don't ignore people, saying things that are outright wrong. Like, they sound wrong and you know it, but you're just silent. Don't be silent. That's all. Don't be a silent partner in what the silence is just as bad as saying things itself. But
Well, my friend Diane, I mean, we had some pretty heated conversations about Black Lives Matter back when that was a big thing. It was like 5 years ago when the movement really was getting, and I was one of these, no, all lives matter, right?
Sure.
Because that made sense to me, right?
Sure.
And she educated me, and she said when you say Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean others don't.
Right.
It's acknowledging that it does, right?
Yeah,
and so I feel like I've grown so much just from listening to people that have views that are different than mine.
And that's the thing. You can't realistically grow as a person if you just stay in one box.
Yep.
sometimes you got to venture out to other boxes.
Yep.
You got to learn from these different
Yep.
people and these different cultures
Yep.
to understand what they're going through and what they experience every day in life. And yeah, so I do appreciate that you're not one of those people that just blocks out any type of like learning.
Yeah, no.
And I think that's, again, like you're my favorite boss, so like clearly I expect that of you, obviously. So let's we're at an hour, nice. You want to do some this or that's?
Oh, what is this or that?
It's literally just this or that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm game.
It's just literally just I pick two things, you pick them, you can explain if you want.
Okay.
And we go from there.
Go.
Okay. Let's just start easy. Or we'll just do questions, either or.
Okay.
Are you the normal Pepsi or Coke? Like, do you drink sodas at all?
Yeah.
Okay, Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Okay. I also do Coke, right? But there are too many people that say Pepsi, and I think Pepsi's too sweet.
Pepsi's too syrupy.
Okay, fair.
I actually took the Pepsi challenge when I was a teenager.
Nice.
I took the legit.
That was a thing. I remember that.
I took the Pepsi challenge, and I could pick Coke every single time.
They
Because
did not show your results. I know they did not. They were like,
yeah.
no.
No, Pepsi is syrupy. To me, I hear people say sweet, but I always say syrupy.
And I think that's what we mean by sweet. It's just that you can taste that syrupy stuff. Now, granted, you shouldn't be able to like clear stuff with Coca-Cola. Like, pour the
Clean the toilet.
Hey, yo, clean the toilet. Like, that's concerning.
Coke has more zing to it. Coke has more zing. Pepsi has more syrup.
That's concerning. All right, now. Never asked a woman how old was she, even though you told me how old you were. Were you around when Coke had the cocaine in it?
No.
Okay. What a time, though. Good God. What? I was like, so one day, right? And this is how sick my mind works. I was at work, and I went and I with the machine, got a Coca-Cola. I looked at the thing, I looked at the bottle, and said, original taste.
Oh!
Said,
Oh my!
I drank. I was like, I'm about to do a lawsuit because I don't taste a hint of cocaine in this Coca-Cola.
Original formula or whatever.
I was
something like that.
I think this is a lie.
Do you remember when you were in new hire training about where that place talked about the fact that there was the original recipe for Coke in the vault in Atlanta?
I do.
Remember that?
I do. Wow, man, I wish I had gotten there. Like now, I'm not like hard drugs are crazy, right? Like not for me, but like in my mind, I'm like, let's just see what it tastes like. Just like
I don't care about the taste. It's just how just
like
get
what
me through
happens
the day.
afterwards. Like one Coke. It's like Coke replaces coffee. Like,
Yes, and then some. It lasts all day. Yeah, and into the night.
Oh my God. Okay. What's your ideal like dinner? Like you can have any dinner. Like no money.
Oh gosh.
No money. Like just whatever.
Yeah. So I've thought about this. So I'm going to ask you a question back. Do you mean if I was going to go have dinner tonight and I could have anything I want, what would I pick? Or the question that I ask people is, if you were only allowed to eat one food for the rest of your life, you're on a deserted island and you have a chef that can make one thing and they have unlimited ingredients and you only get to eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would that be? So which question do you want me to ask? That's this or that.
I'm going to save the second one.
Okay.
That's actually one of my favorite ones to do.
Yeah.
Let's do the first one. Like, you can go anywhere right now to have anything you want.
Oh, I would have a ribeye steak.
Okay. How you cook it?
Medium.
Okay.
Actually, I had Outback last night, and I had a ribeye.
Nice.
Cooked medium. So I like ribeye steaks and Caesar salad and probably asparagus.
Okay. Asparagus is I feel like asparagus has moved ahead of like mashed potatoes with steaks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm trying to do low carb. I try to do low carb. I'm good one day and not good the next, but...
Listen, when I was getting married, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go straight, really hard, low carb stuff. And it was working. And then after I got married, I was like, all right, that's enough of that.
Yeah. Well, my problem is alcohol. I mean, do you remember I lost 150 pounds?
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, and I did low carb and water aerobics. So I know how to do it. The problem is, And am I allowed to like drop names here? Because there's one person that just really destroyed me, and he knows who he is.
We've been dropping names.
All right. Well, you know, Mr. Talbot was my bad influence because we used to go to that place where Bill took us to, the boss man took us to for the drinks, and we started with beer and wings, which was low carb because I was doing the low carb beer and then the wings, and then that's when I realized how much I like alcohol, right? And so then that's how I started getting my weight back, is because I started drinking. So.
Yeah, I mean, I try to do low carb beers, but it's like, it's cool, whatever.
Doesn't hit
having like 10 or 20 of them, it's just like, you're basically doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, you can do liquor, but I'm like, unless you're doing the liquor straight, it's like you have to have a mixer.
Yeah.
So I've been like,
but that's where sugar-free vodka Red Bulls go pretty good too. So yeah.
I do the you know those ice drinks,
like the White Claw.
So those are the substances. So like it's the like.
Oh, like, ice, like a mix, like a.
The
put in the water. Yeah.
So like those are like
with vodka.
No calories. So it's cool. Like I can do that. So I'll be trying to find like different ways of doing that and keeping low carb stuff. But I was good for like a full year, and then like bro, like it's the cooking and like trying to make sure I'm working.
Do you remember me and vodka or in marshmallow vodka? Do you remember that whole?
Yeah, it was a dark time for you.
It really was.
I was like fam, like I was like I used to think, what are you doing? And like you were legit pumping. I was like, yeah, marshmallow vodka is so delicious. Like, chill. No, it's not. Like, no, it's not.
I would go home and drink half a bottle or more of marshmallow vodka every day. Like I was teetering on alcoholism. I really was.
I was like, chill, it's not.
I would. That's when I was a smoker too. So I would literally go home after work and sit in my garage and chain smoke cigarettes and drink vodka Red Bull and listen to Depeche Mode. And that's what I would do to cope. And then I would get up, hungover, come to work, hungover every single day to work. And I mean, and that's what when I finally had that moment of I gotta go.
Something gotta go.
I gotta go. And that's why I moved. That's why I left, because I had to go. I know you get it.
Yeah, no,
I know you get it.
I understand.
I need a refill though.
Yeah.
That's why I brought 2 bottles, because I knew.
Yeah.
I knew.
So what do you think? Did you play video games as a kid?
Oh gosh, I played Atari. Does that count?
It does count. Do you remember what games you played on Atari?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. The ones with the
Oh, you're talking Pong?
Pong.
Yeah.
Like the old, Atari, like back legit.
No, Atari, yeah. Atari.
But, you know, it's funny that you asked this. I actually bought a Miss Pac-Man, Galga, Dig Dug machine. It's like a wall hang. It's like a full size, but you hang it on the wall. It's in my office at home.
That's kind of dope.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if you can see right here. There's a Pac-Man thing like right around the corner.
I can't see it.
It's the window thing is blocking, but it's like so it's like this tall over there. So it's like yours like.
Yeah, no,
it's
yeah,
arcade thing.
Yeah, it's the arcade size, whatever, but it just hangs. I didn't buy the case.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah,
I like
and
that.
I have a seat, a Pac-Man seat, so you can
So
and so it's Dig Dug, Galaga, and Miss Pac-Man.
Oh. Of those 3, which one would you play?
Oh, Miss Pac-Man probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember Dig Dug. My favorite video game growing up was Tempest. Do you remember Tempest? That was the one with the turn thing, and it was like you would go.
So I remember Tempest, but very vaguely. I didn't play it obviously because I was a little bit older, or I was older by the time it came out, or whatever. But yeah, oh man, I remember we had like an Atari. I think we had the Atari 2600.
I think I had the original Atari.
Yeah.
The one where like the wires would get jacked up like 2 weeks and keep buying the I mean, we had all the old Pong and the ones that had those little, they're like little battle cannon things. I can't remember.
I remember there was what's it called? It's like you're in the middle of the screen. It's like, was it Asteroid? Asteroid.
Yeah.
Asteroid was there. Yeah, that's true. Damn.
But I mean, I am very, like, I can't play piano, I can't play guitar, and you know the video games, they have like all the different buttons, and you got to do this with this hand, and then this with this hand, and no, I need one, I can do one thing.
Yeah.
One thing.
So Pac-Man is like perfect
Pac-Man, or you know, Tempest with the spinny thing.
Yeah.
Or Galaga, where you're just going back and forth and just choo-choo-choo. Right? Like, keep it simple, because I'm old. I'm old.
So, give me your three. No, hold up.
Oh boy. I've been asked this question recently, so I'm prepared.
Okay, no, we're going to get deserted album thing. So deserted album. You can do one movie.
Okay.
One TV series.
Okay.
One book.
Okay.
One album.
Okay.
One meal.
Okay.
And one food.
All right, so I'm gonna start with the meal.
Okay.
So Vietnamese egg rolls with fish sauce
Okay.
is my food.
Okay.
Book. I don't read books.
That's fine. Make sure you read mine though.
I have yours.
I'm coming out with another one very
I
soon.
know. I saw that. No, I did see that. I didn't see the baby, but I saw the book. Yeah. I'm not a reader. I aspire.
I understand that though, for like a lot of people.
I'm lazy that way, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'll start venturing on audiobooks.
Movie. God, that's a hard one. I know what I want to say, but then I'm tempted to say something else, so I'm just going to stay with what I want to say, which is Shawshank Redemption.
Okay. What was the other one?
Pulp Fiction.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Because they're like two different
Very
movies.
different, right? But
Two different
Shawshank,
movies.
I don't care if it's got 2 minutes left in the movie. When I'm scrolling through that
You
guide,
stop
I
and
will
watch.
stop and watch that last 2 minutes every single time.
That's fine.
Album, Black Celebration by Depeche Mode.
Okay.
TV series. Oh, this is a hard one. Oh God, this is a hard one now. I want to say Better Call Saul because they're about to show the last series.
Okay.
They're about to do the last series.
Yeah,
the last season. On April 18th. Probably Better Call Saul.
Okay. Did you have any other ones in mind?
Breaking Bad was amazing.
Okay.
There's some not Netflix, but Amazon Prime shows. Good Omens.
Okay.
Did you see that?
I did not watch Good Omens.
So good. Fleabag.
Okay.
Incredible. And I'm not a huge TV series person.
You're a movie person more than
Yeah,
a
more.
movie. See, I'm the opposite. I'm a TV series person over movies.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of classic movies that, like, if you ask me right now, have you seen this? I'm like, nah.
Yeah. My friend and I went to see Death on the Nile. It just came out. It's really good. It was. Really,
I believe it.
It was like Clue. It's like a whodunit. It was really. We were talking about that last night at dinner.
I like whodunits. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
I love mystery stuff.
No, it's really, really good.
You know what I've been watching recently? I've been watching Murder, She Wrote.
Oh God, that's old school.
I love Murder, She Wrote.
Wow.
Angela Lansbury is a legend. She is a legend.
I know I've watched it, but now I'm intrigued. I have to go
Oh,
watch it because that's like taking me back to my childhood.
It's so funny because like we'll watch it like during dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, all right, let's figure out who did it. And, like you just try to pick up clues, like small, like little things. Like I feel like they're really good at doing it. Like, oh, they pop in a clue like here. Like, how did you know about the weapon? Because we never said it. Like, that's cool for me. Like, that's fun for me.
Yeah, my friend that I saw the movie with was the one that I had dinner with last night.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and he brought it up, and he was like, he said, that movie was just so good. It just so exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
And I said, I called it, though. I knew at the, like, first quarter of the movie, I already knew the answer to it, which I usually never guess. And he was like, how did you know? And I said, it was this clue and that clue, and he was like, yep, that was exactly it. Like it was too easy.
Yeah.
Because if I pick up on it, it's too easy.
If I pick up on it, it's too easy.
If I pick up on it, it was too obvious because I'm usually like, no.
Yeah. That's fun though. It's like even if you catch it early, you for the rest of the movie,
You're confirming yourself.
Let me see if I'm right. So
Yeah.
that's always cool.
Yep.
That's cool though. I like. So Better Call. What is that show about? Because I've heard about it and I've never actually.
Well, you know what Breaking Bad is.
Breaking Bad is Walter White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you see it?
No. See, that's what I'm saying. Like there are certain, but I'm also the person that if a lot of people like it, I can't watch it.
I was the same way.
So I've never seen Game of Thrones. Like
I've never watched
those type of things. Like I can't do it. Like too many people are like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. So if I go watch it and it's not,
Then you're like,
I gotta go knock on a couple people's doors.
So Better Call Saul is a spin-off of Breaking Bad.
Okay.
So one of the characters in Breaking Bad was the attorney that helps get Walter White out of trouble, and it was Saul Goodman, and so it's his story.
Okay.
It's his story. So they basically, Better Call Saul is a precursor to Breaking Bad. I think there might be some overlap, like things going on at the same time.
Like there's like flashback or like flash forward where it's like, okay, cool. That's dope.
Yeah, and I've been waiting 2 years for this one because it got placed on COVID or on hold for COVID and all that stuff. But did I answer all the questions? So they got
Yeah,
the food,
you got
okay.
you did have a book.
Yeah.
And that's
Your book.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. I like that. Bond's coming out very soon.
Yeah.
Do I have any? What do I have another one? Let me see. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions before we sign off?
Oh, I should have thought about this.
You're very intriguing. You're inquisitive is the word.
I'm inquisitive?
Yeah.
Like just naturally?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think you're naturally inquisitive.
Yeah, but I want to ask a smart question. I don't want to ask a stupid question.
I mean, to be fair, I do believe. I think me and you are both in the same sense that we also believe that. You know how people are like, oh, there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I get them every day.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Every day.
But no, I mean.
What did you, aside from being the basketball extraordinaire, what did you aspire to be when you grew up?
So originally I wanted to design video games. Like I was a big video game player. I still am.
You wanted to play them, design them,
I wanted to
test them?
I wanted to create video games.
Okay.
I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be like, oh, this would be a cool concept if we did this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yada, yada, yada.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but cartoons, right? So
Yeah.
that's so when I think because the first thing I was thinking was you're into anime.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it's not just anime; it's just cartoons too.
Okay.
And I remember,
Anime, yeah.
and I know every once in a while, so I feel like I'm veering off a little bit, but every once in a while, I will see something that's a cartoon, and I think if you pause and reflect for a minute, anytime I've done anything with a cartoon, it's always been super old school, like stuff from the '60s.
Which I probably wouldn't know.
Huh?
I probably wouldn't know though.
Yeah, I know. No. Like, and there was like, I'll post something every once in a while. There was something that hits me from my childhood, right? Where you talk about like Saturday mornings, sitting in front of TV, eating cereal, like you do.
Yeah.
And I hate the remakes and I hate all that stuff. But it's the '60s stuff. And I remember I posted, it was last year, and I think you commented on it. Do you remember Hambone?
Oh, yeah, Tom and Jerry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the dude with the mustache.
Yeah, it's like-
Hambone.
You know I can't trumpet out my guitar string. Yeah. That's funny because like that's like my dad's favorite Tom and Jerry cartoon. So like that's his favorite.
Hambone?
That's his favorite episode. Oh, you know what I'm saying? So
It came up on my Facebook memories not that long ago too.
So that one, like, when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, this is place.
Or like Pepe Le Pew and
which you could never do Pepe Le Pew these days.
Which is crazy, right?
I remember because like that thing was like last year or 2 years ago. They were like, yeah, Pepe Le Pew has been like, he wasn't canceled per se, but like they weren't using him in like the newer Looney Tunes.
Too risque.
I was like, in theory, I was like, I get it, like, cause he is kind of aggressive. But yeah, man, I've always been like a big animated. The thing about animated cartoons, like not ones that are adult cartoons, but animated cartoons, is that they're still done by adults, so they like sneak crap in there.
Yes.
And
That you
so,
never notice as a child, but you notice
right,
when you're
but when you get an adult, you're like, oh, you guys were sneaky. So that's my enjoyment out of it.
Do you remember my connection to Boondocks?
Wait.
Did I ever tell you?
I don't think so.
Do I have your attention now?
I know. I'm locked in.
My brother-in-law, the Filipino that I told you about that
Yeah.
lives in Los Angeles, he worked, I think it was the sound on Boondocks.
That's crazy. That's dope.
Yeah, like it was part of like mixing or
Yeah.
he worked for Sony, I think,
Uh-huh.
Michael. But yeah, something to do with sound with Boondocks.
Oh, and I love.
And we watched the Uncle Fester, Uncle Ruckus.
Uncle Ruckus.
Uncle Ruckus
Yep.
was my favorite character.
Yep.
I have a friend that every once in a while will send me a GIF of him smacking a big booty and it jiggling.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, of all the things that you're going to send me, that's the GIF.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I love dogs.
Is that a good way to end?
Oh yeah, that's the one, man. So here at Clueless Vino, what we like to do, man, is like we drink the wine. We like to rate the wine because I like to suggest the wine for people. Let them know if it's something that they should get.
Yeah.
That, just like get like reviews. I've gotten some likes from the people that actually like. I tag the people who make the wines or whatever. They're like, oh, thank you for it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They won't give me the free wine, but it's cool though. It's fine. So what would you, obviously you've had this wine before, so you're gonna give it glory.
Yes.
But what would you give Ferrari Serrano Chardonnay?
From a 1 to 10?
1 out of 5 glasses.
1 out of 5? 1 out of 5.
Yep.
I would give it a 4.3.
Okay. I think it's super solid. I think that's super solid. Yeah, like me. I give it a 4, man.
Yeah.
Because I like this.
It's better the longer you drink it.
It's crisp. That's the thing. Like, it's crisp. Like, there are certain wines, like red wines are like, they're tough to have multiple glasses of.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically if they're like super dry. Because you feel like your mouth is like cotton ball,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where this, it's like, it gets that, that tangy thing where it's like, it's back of your throat or whatever. But this is, it's refreshing. So it's easier to continue to have multiple glasses.
I mean, it's $20. It was, when I could find it at Food Line, it was like $20. I got this at Total Wine for $17.
I'm not mad at that, no.
Yeah.
I would not. Yeah, that's something I would get multiple times.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I'm so happy that you stopped by.
Vino with the boss.
Vino with the boss, man. You know what I mean? I mean, it would be different if like I've never had drinks with you ever.
Yeah.
But that was like a normal thing for me.
Yeah, this is easy, right? This is
like,
natural.
This is like a regular occurrence for us. You know what I mean? But I haven't seen it forever.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, I just want to let you know that you are my favorite boss. Like to this day, it's been 10 years. I've had multiple bosses since. Some were good, some were bad, some I hate.
Oh.
But I've always appreciated you. I call you mama. And yeah, man, I'm glad that you've always kept in touch over the years, man. So that's why I do want to thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me.
Do you want to? I like to give the people, the guests, any last words. If they want to put their socials on there, or if they want to just, give like any type of words of encouragement or anything they want to say before we sign off.
I think with COVID,
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage everybody to reflect on what's important
Mm-hmm.
in life. I know that, I threw myself into work. Work was my identity.
Yeah.
And I lost a good part of my life by having my identity tied to what I did for a living. And I think that there's an awakening. I think there's a lot more emphasis on mental health.
Yep.
And what's important in life and family and connection. And I don't want that to be lost when we start to get back to normal.
Yeah.
So I think that's incredibly important in the world. That's my deep thoughts with Jill.
That's good, man. I like that. I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah.
Be sure to like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, rate the podcast on Spotify or whatever you listen to that, and be sure to continue to listen, man. And always don't forget, drink up.
Yep. Cheers.
I got the juice, don't need no proof. 100 like the rum, I drink that got me over you. And all your nonsense, we all subject to. I find my lane and mind my business like I'm supposed to do. Let's have a toast for all the obstacles that got us here. I put my glass up in the air to stimulate the cheers. Not because we made it, but because we making it. I savor the moment, the bouquet forever, evident. Yeah. In my realm, I watch the times go by. I got the world in my hands, but I can't tame the sky.